Did you ever wonder if there's a way to practice drums without you being on your room with them? Or maybe you tried already and you failed. I will explain you a few ways in which I've been practicing during the last years, because sometimes it's true that we have less time than we wanted. But you probably checked already my video about that and it's not a concern for you anymore. But still, if you're a person who wants to practice and you are like trying to figure out how to have more time, let's go with my tips. All the tips that I'm gonna give have something in common, and it's the fact that you are practicing while doing something else, because we understand that here we are gonna focus on everything you can do without being in your room with your drums. Tip number 1, practicing while watching something. So basically using a pad and practicing with your hands like this one, putting it on top of something while you are watching a film or a series or something else. So for instance, myself, I learned German watching a podcast, and I say watching because it's a podcast that every minute shows the 10 more difficult words of that minute. And since you cannot pay much attention, the goal here is having an exercise that is not like super complex, but at the same time helps you with something. I think especially focusing on the left hand or the weak hand if you are left-handed. So doing like something very basic, leading with your weak hand. I can only recommend you that you explore the exercise that you have available and the ones that work for you. What I do myself is always like super simple, like doing singles, but leading with the left hand. I also changed to traditional grip not long ago, so right now I have a lot to learn from the basics, trying to create exercises that are difficult but super simple. Okay, let's go now with tip number 2. And in this case, I'm gonna talk about the feet. So basically is having, while sitting and doing something else, you are playing with your feet on a pad or something. You can use these ones if you are doing home office, but also if you have to go to an office. Okay, this is the first prototype, and it's a drum pedal that hits itself. What I did, this part of here is hitting itself, right? And all these tissues and everything, they are there, so it doesn't sound. So, and you have this movement until it doesn't have much rebound, but the idea of this one especially is so having more strength and also get used to the movement that you do with the heel down, so only from the ankle, and you get really big muscle by doing this. Also the second one, which would be like the normal, would be like using a pad. So you have practice pads for bass drum. In my case, I'm using straight away this one from Roland. Basically, the more you pay, you have better rebound. But actually, in this case, if you're practicing being handicapped, I think it's good, you know. So basically, the only reason I'm using this Roland is because my electronic drums right now, I'm not using them. Also, if you don't want to do a lot of noise, put this on the pedal. So some sucks and also will have less rebound, but that's better to create muscle. Of course, you can like pick up this stuff and put it on your other foot or right foot if you are left-footed or however it's called. So if you play double bass drum, you can split. But also, right now, sometimes I have 2 things on the floor, and it's also for the hi-hat. This one from Roland is super good. It doesn't sound at all. And sometimes I combine it with the right foot and practice jazz stuff. Tip number 3, if someone asks you for a massage, don't do the massage with your hands. Do it with sticks. I'm not kidding. Do it. So with tip number 1 and 2 and 3, we covered feet and hands. So in case you cannot use your feet or your hands because you are in a train or something, or you cannot move at all, like in a plane. Well, even in the plane, I pick up the stick and do like this on my leg. So no excuses. But in case you cannot move for real, and you promise me that you cannot move, tip number 4 is with the metronome. Okay, here you have to be creative. But basically what you're gonna do is putting your headphones on. Oh, they are not on me right now. It's so weird that this happens. You put on your headphones and you pick up a metronome app that you like. And yeah, then you just create the exercise that you like. But I will tell you the ones that I used until now. So one of them, the most basic one, is just having an app that allows you to hear one bar and then one bar without that quarter note. Then in your head you try to figure out where the quarter note should be. And then the next bar comes again, you fail, but you train this thing. This is one. Also one funny one is putting the BPM at the lowest, like 30, 20. I think the lowest in mine is 30, if I'm not wrong. And just try to guess where the quarter note is. And when you know that already, you start putting 8th notes, 8th note triplets, 16th notes, which is actually easy if you subdivide. So the thing is trying like to change from one to another. And this is a great exercise. The time that I've been using this was a time in which I got pissed off because when I was playing punk, my tempo was moving when I was playing without metronome. And because I was, during those years or months, I was going with bike a lot. So I knew that I had to practice as much as possible and practice the time, so the tempo thingy. So what I did is while I was going on bike, I was doing those exercises. So I had the metronome at 30 BPM and I was doing like trying to fill that space with everything. I mean subdivisions, but also bulerías, only the upbeat in the middle. And I was doing, so the notes that I was imagining that I was playing, I was doing it with my fingers. So I was going with my bike and doing like this, tick, 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 tick. And after some time, I started doing it with both fingers. So in my head, I had the 30 BPM thing. With one finger, I was doing something, and then with the other finger, something else, And I never fell from the bike. But if you think you can fall from the bike, don't do that. If you think that the previous one was weird, now probably comes the most weird one. And it applies to, I was doing this while running, but I believe that if you're walking, you can apply it also. What I was doing is while running, so with my feet, while they were moving, I was trying to do a 5/4, so ta 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 ta. And because your brain is not used to 5 and 7th, especially those two, I was counting them with my feet. And only by counting them, your brain finds it weird, especially if you are like me, that you play everything with 4/4. First of all, counting the 5 with my feet, and then in my head, I was playing a drum solo. And I was applying solo language of the length of 5. So I was like, if my feet were doing like this, I was trying in my head to do tang 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 kakang kakakang kang kakang kang kakakang ta 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 tan 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 ta 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 ta. So I was trying to do phrases that were on 5/4. If you're still watching, there's one more tip. In case you cannot move your hands and you cannot move your feet and you are not running or doing a massage, you will be probably hear something in the surroundings that has rhythm on it. If that's not the case and you have complete silence, that's for the last tip. But in this case, I mean like you go to the street, you sit in a bank, suddenly you hear like someone working en obras, ¿cómo se dice en obras? ¿Cómo se dice obra en inglés, tío? You know, when there's a lot of people repairing something in the street, like a building or the street itself, so the road, and there's a machine doing some noise rhythmically. So, for instance, when they are doing a hole like, so you hear that and you take it as a metronome. At least in Berlin, with the trains and everyone is repairing everything everywhere, it's very easy to have something that has some kind of rhythm. This actually is related to the tip number 4, so the one of the metronome. If you don't have a metronome, try to listen something from the outside that has some kind of rhythm. And the last tip is, if you cannot move your hands, your feet, no massage, no headphones, no people repairing a road, then you try to see if there is something that has rhythm. Because there's a lot of stuff moving around, like the TV when it's on a standby and that's like, try to fill the space in between. Or for instance, when you are in the train and you are passing by buildings that they are separated with the same space and they go like, there you have the metronome. And I think I gave all the tips, unless there is something you can do in case you cannot move your hands, you cannot move your feet, no headphones, no massage, you are not hearing anything, you are not seeing anything. In that case, you can go to the doctor because you are probably not doing good. Okay, jokes aside, I think I gave all the tips that I have. I use them, all of them, every day, everywhere. So there's no excuse to be practicing 24/7.